Hello everybody, May Bellingham here with Darren Jacklin, and we're here to talk about how you can be super successful in 2018. Go,
you betcha. Well, the key thing is, for years I've been writing goals and achieving goals all over the world and doing things. And first thing you want to do is, number one, is write things down on paper. Whether it's a journal, it's a diary, it's a scrap piece of paper. Hand write things down on paper. I know some of you are digital and you like to use electronics, but write things down on paper and get clear. What is it you really want in your life? And write it down on paper. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can always edit it and cross things over, but write things down on paper. So set the intention and then set the target. A specific, measurable, actionable step or strategy of by when do you want to achieve this goal. And if you really want to anchor it into yourself to build your self-confidence and your believability into it, what I always do is, if it's a serious goal or a dream or a target or a wish that you want to achieve, whether it's a personal or professional goal, whatever it is, then write down a list of 50 benefits on another piece of paper of why you deserve, why you're smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, deserving enough to achieve that goal or dream. And that will build up your self-confidence and your belief, because you may have a big dream. You want to be a millionaire, you want to be, some superstar in business, something like that, but your mind says BS, it doesn't believe it, and you've got negative self-talk around it. So you've got to build that confidence up by affirming yourself with positive reinforcement, by benefits, to stack those on top of each other, to believe that you can actually achieve it.
That's powerful, like anchoring it in, basically.
Absolutely. Because the more you give yourself documentation of evidence, and it's visual, and it's kinesthetic, and you verbally say it, so it's auditory, and you look at it as kind of like daily affirmations, you believe it. When, years ago when I wanted to train big corporations around the world, I didn't have any formal education. And the men and women that were out there training these companies had MBAs and PhDs from, recognized universities and colleges around the world. So I had to go knock on these doors and cold call and pitch to decision makers of these corporations and boards of directors and advisory boards and teams of people. And I didn't have any self-confidence because I had nothing going for me, because I had no track record or background. Right? And so I had to stack benefits of why I was smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, deserving enough, so I could build the belief system. So when I went in to get rejected, because I faced a lot of rejection, right? More rejection than wins, then I had to, each time I got rejected, I had to build my belief that no, somebody's going to eventually say yes. So if you're phoning people, or you're doing internet marketing, you're out there networking or prospecting, you've always got to be reinforcing that you're smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, deserving enough, because your self-talk, right, will take over, or your environment of people is stronger than your willpower. And you'll always gravitate, so your negative relatives, your friends, your family members are like, oh, come on, go get a real job, it's not going to work, you're dreaming too big, that's a bunch of kumbaya, that's a bunch of hype, don't do that. Those are dream stealers. But sometimes they can have more influence in you than you can have in yourself, because when you get started, you don't have a lot of support. It's just you going on that track by yourself, and you're going to get beaten up on the way. It's going to be a roller coaster of a lot of ups and downs.
Absolutely. And then, so what would you say to people when they're literally facing like that block or that wall, or like they're stuck, and they want to move forward but they feel stuck? Like, do you have any words of advice?
For sure. That? The biggest thing, I'll give you an example. I'm just closing a $1.8 billion deal right now, a real estate transaction, an acquisition. And, it's a very lonely road. It's not easy. There's lots of peaks and valleys. It's a roller coaster, a lot of emotions, even though it's a very logical process, a lot of emotions involved. And very few people play at a $1 billion deal level. And so the thing is that I spend a lot of time in nature with myself. I work out at the gym. I spend a lot of time in my journal, and I get around people who are playing a bigger game than me.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Like, my girlfriend and I are moving to a new home right now, a beautiful, beautiful home. And, she had a lot of negative self-talk, right? So it's a multi-million-dollar home, right, in West Vancouver, Canada. So I took her in the neighborhood where there was like 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 plus $1 million homes, big mansion homes. And I'm like, imagine the thinking that people have to do to get to this level. She's like, oh my gosh, like how do they think at that level, right? So then I took her back to our place. She's like, oh my gosh, our place is totally achievable, right? So if you've got big problems and challenges right now in your life, go to neighborhoods, go to environments, go to areas, read people's biographies, autobiographies of men and women who've overcome incredible amounts of adversities. I'll give you an example. There's a gentleman right now that I can introduce you to that has no arms and no legs. He was born with no arms and no legs. From nothing, today he runs a $10 million company.
It's pretty impressive.
A $10 million company with no arms and no legs. Doesn't that change your mindset? So you got to get around people, right? I was on doing a Facebook Live earlier today when I was snowshoeing, and one of my buddies, Elvin Law, Elvin was born with no arms, and he plays the drums with his feet,
Oh.
and he texts messages with his feet. You can just Google Elvin Law, Alvinlaw. He's on social media. Go to YouTube and check him out, and you can see him online. And he's a speaker, travels around the world, and he educates a lot of people, but he was born with no arms, and today he travels over 200 days a year, makes an incredible living, makes a huge difference in people's lives. But you see, people they say, oh my gosh, the guy's got no arms, he's never going to get anywhere in his life. This guy's living his dream. So sometimes you got to get references of people who have overcome adversities and failures and tragedies and challenges to build your belief that it's possible that you can actually do it.
So kind of like overexpand yourself, and then what you were, what you held stuck, now it's actually believable because you've actually expanded past that.
Yeah,
So
and consider if you live in North America, every problem and challenge you have is a first world problem.
Yeah.
Right? What you're complaining about, what you're griping about, other people in third world countries, that's a prayer to them. That's a dream to them.
Yeah.
They would love to have your problem or challenge. Right? So consider it's a first world problem, and that's going to shift your mindset thinking, man, the things I complain about are first world problems. Right? People would love to have that problem. Today I'm out snowshoeing here in North Vancouver, and it's minus 2 degrees and people are falling down snowshoeing. I'm like, in first world problem, you're complaining about being in the snow, and yet over 3 billion people on planet Earth will never ever see snow.
Or a drought.
Yeah, or a drought, or someone will never even see a walk-in cooler because they don't have electricity.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, we'll just wrap it up. Any other quick words?
The key thing is get started, right? Get in the game, get into action. And that's the key thing is get out of your head, write things down on paper, take small, daily, consistent, actionable steps, consistently compounded over a period of time. And, you might see myself now, what I've achieved in my life. There's been thousands of hours behind the scenes, and I've failed more than I've succeeded in life.
Yeah.
Right? And whether you're looking at a professional athlete or a sports star or a celebrity or movie star or anybody in sales or business or marketing, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we have adversities and failures and challenges, but you just keep going. Right? And that's the key thing but we live in a society where people want to look good and they have the fear of looking bad. And they get caught up in their head about image and ego. And here's the thing. If you're going to become an entrepreneur, you want to become successful, you've got to learn to deal with not looking good. Because you're going to look bad at times. You're going to screw up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to feel embarrassed. Things are not going to work out. And you're going to be judged by other people. People are going to judge you around you because we're human beings, right? We're human beings on this planet. We're just trying to get through life. And so understand that there's going to be a period of time in your life where you're going to have to be selfish. You're going to have to be selfish to go for it because you've got to bust out of that environment to level up to the next level. And your inner circle of men and women are not going to be supportive, right? I always say to people, how do you know when you attract a new problem or challenge into your life and when you level up? When you attract new problem or challenge in your life is that you can't solve that problem or challenge. It could be a tax problem. It could be a business problem. It could be a relationship problem. You don't know how to solve it. So you've got to go outside of your inner circle and find people that you've never met, maybe at a networking event, maybe online, maybe at a trade show, maybe at a conference, maybe your priest at a church, you know what I mean? And you got to find somebody to help level you up and skill you up and give you that advice and information. Also understand too, there's going to be no life balance. You see all these books in the bookstores and online about life balance. It's about, hey, listen, if you want life balance, become a government employee. Go work for the union. It's the only way you're going to do it. Listen, I've trained and developed over 1 million people. Tell you right now, it's a bunch of kumbaya. Don't buy into that crap. There's no life balance. I have no life balance, okay? Because you're not going to. Because if you're going to become an entrepreneur where you're paid based on performance, not a salary, not paid every 2 weeks, you are going to have to deal with the peaks and valleys of life. And there's going to be nights where you're thinking, man, gosh, how do I get my next dollar in the bank account? I got bills coming up. I got a conference I got to attend. I got to pay for an airline ticket. I got to go close a deal, right? And so the thing is, you're going to have a lot of peaks and valleys and adversity challenges. I've been bust twice in my life. I've never been able to go bankrupt because I couldn't afford it. I was once homeless on welfare, and I've also made a few $1 million in my life, right? So the thing is, but the biggest thing is, get around people. Now, when I first started, I didn't have a nice car. So I parked my car a few blocks away because I was so embarrassed because I wanted to look good because I had a big ego. Well, I wanted to impress people. So I parked my car in the back alley. Hopefully I didn't get towed or ticketed by law enforcement. And I would walk to a networking event. I would walk to a trade show or walk to a seminar or a conference to go in there. Because I was so scared that I was going to be judged by what I did. So if that's where you're at in your life right now, say, well, I'd like to go to a networking event or go to a trade show, and maybe I'm raising money and I want to go meet a bunch of investors at this trade show or conference, but I don't have the right clothes. Listen, in my career, I wore the same high school graduation suit for the first 10 years of my life because that's all I could financially afford. I used to sleep in the back of my vehicle because I couldn't afford the hotel rooms to go to conferences and conventions, okay? I used to sneak in sometimes into the exit doors. Yeah, that's what I did because I just wanted to win.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. And so sometimes you've got to be uncomfortable to do things until you become comfortable over a period of time. And that's what it takes, is because sometimes you think, well, man, I'd love to, you know, there was times where I wanted to meet the decision makers of corporations and the gatekeepers wouldn't let me in. So I had to find out through the FedEx driver or the UPS driver, that man or woman, when he or she was flying from, let's say, Vancouver to Toronto for a meeting, because a lot of head offices are in Toronto, Canada, right, not on the West Coast. And I would borrow money, or I'd book an airline ticket to sit beside that man or woman in close proximity on that Air Canada or WestJet airline just to get access to him or her with no guarantee. Okay, no guarantee of a next meeting, no guarantee of a deal closing. So I could talk to that person, and it didn't always work. They didn't always want to talk to me. Sometimes they wanted to sleep on the plane, or they wanted to be on their laptop doing work, or they had somebody else flying with them as an assistant or a colleague. And I wanted to get some FaceTime with that man or woman, and I'd arrive in Toronto 4.5 hours later, wait for an hour, hour and a half, get on the same flight, and fly back to Vancouver in the same day.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes what you got to do. I flew one time from Kelowna, British Columbia to Vancouver to London, England for a 15-minute meeting in a Starbucks with a guy from a major bank who ended up giving me 22 minutes, and 7 months later, no communication. And almost 8 months later, he contacted me through a fax machine and faxed me, said, after careful analysis and due diligence and review, we're going to hire you to come in and do some corporate training for our company.
Delayed gratification.
So understand, sometimes you got to get on a plane, sometimes you got to leave your immediate radius and go places where you're out of your comfort zone. Sometimes if you're living in a small town, you're like, man, there's a big trade show happening in Las Vegas, and it's thousands of miles away, right? You got to figure out whether you got to take a Greyhound bus, you got to fly, you got to drive, you got to hitchhike, whatever it does. And I've taken the Greyhound bus, I've hitchhiked, okay? I've rode my bike to events before, a bicycle, okay? I've done all that stuff before to get to where I want, because when you get around people, it's a different environment. So always get around. There's, you know, so many people today are connecting online, but the key thing is connect in person, because we're in the people business.
Right.
Right? And when you're around people face to face, it's a different game.
Absolutely. And how can people follow you if they want to?
You know what? Just go to DarrenJacklin.com. It's DarrenJacklin. Just Google Darren Jacklin, or go to DarrenJacklin.com. And if you go to DarrenJacklin.com, all my social media links are on there. You can follow me on social media. To me, it's a platform to give back and make a difference and help people's lives. I believe in paying it forward and passing it on.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your
Thanks,
time.
everyone, and have a great 2018.
Go be great, everybody.